Hello friends, it's Techman Pat. Today we are doing a review of this ASUS Strix 2 laptop, an older version, but there is a reason why I'm doing it on this one, and also going to be talking about the newer version. They are extremely similar. This is an esports MOBA laptop. It's supposed to be for those guys who play a lot of MOBA games. Let's say it's Heroes of the Storm or League of Legends or Dota 2. This is the laptop for those guys. It has a high refresh rate monitor. It has a very sleek look, and it has a GTX 1060 6GB VRAM in it also. Let's start with some obvious things. This laptop looks absolutely incredible. I mean, the design is fantastic. My worry whenever I look at a laptop is how flimsy it is and the build quality. I can certainly say that while this is plastic, it is a much tougher plastic. It has a little bit of metal here, an RGB little sign here, that's all fine and dandy. But this is a laptop I can pick up, it's a 15-inch, and not have to really worry about snapping. Now, one of the biggest things people do is carry their laptops around like this with a hand on here. A lot of laptops that I've done it this way is they start to bend, and you'll actually notice cracking along the lines here. It happens a lot. Whichever hand you put it in, it'll start cracking the little bits here. This hasn't happened with this laptop, and I'm very impressed. So build quality, I'm very happy. I would say, and I suppose this is more of a cost thing, if this was made out of metal like a Apple laptop or the way Razer is going about it, I think this would have been the perfect laptop, and then you just pick what's inside. But I understand why it's plastic. They make a new version every so often, but I wish they stick to a design and then just fill it in as much as possible, just like, for example, Apple does. They have the same chassis and they fill it in with different bits and pieces every year. But to note, the reason a lot of companies can't do that is because of the amount of heating dissipation this requires. So this has a lot of fan exhaust. There's two at the back, two on the sides, and a little bit underneath to pull a little bit of air. And the thing is about that is that it is actually a little bit loud. Like, I'm not going to lie, this is loud when you get it going. I've sat in the lounge room and then my folks were sitting a little bit further away watching TV when I was visiting them on a trip, and I brought this laptop because it's perfect for traveling. They could hear this fan and it was going strong when I was playing some games, and I was kind of annoyed at it, but I had my headphones on. I couldn't quite hear it, but I could definitely feel it when I had my hand on the right hand side with the mouse. I could feel that hot air going. Once I took that off, this is a powerhouse. Now, I have actually overclocked the GTX 1060 in there to squeeze a little bit more juice out of it. And one thing I found is that if you unplug the power, you can't really use that GTX, and I still haven't figured it out. For some reason, this laptop, as soon as you unplug it from power, because this is a huge brick, like, this is the stuff you gotta carry around with you, and you gotta plug it in and keep it plugged in. It's long enough, it's fine, but it is a large brick. And once you unplug it, it doesn't seem to wanna work. Not in the sense of completely shutting off, but it won't play games using the GTX card. It'll just use the Intel built in, and that's not for gaming. Let's be clear about that. There's no reason to use the inbuilt Intel APU. So that's a little problem. I still haven't figured it out. I think it can be fixed or turned on with an update from ASUS directly to the actual BIOS, but I doubt they'll ever do that because it chews through battery. This thing, when you're using it to its sort of maximum potential, let's say I'm running something and let's say I'm forcing everything to use that GTX, even though it doesn't actually use it properly, I couldn't figure it out. You've got maybe 50 minutes on it, 55, I get it. I get why. It chews a lot of power, and it needs a lot of power, and the battery just doesn't have enough voltage for it, so that's why you plug it in. Now, getting past all that, what's it like to use? So, on the inside, it has one of the best keyboards I have ever used in my life. It's got a really cool on-screen turn-on sound. This keyboard is so good. I take this out and I write my scripts on it because I can't use the other keyboards. This is an absolute magical keyboard. I've heard people on YouTube say it's not a great keyboard. I don't understand. I love it. The buttons aren't big, they're matte, they feel good when you click them. I have made less mistakes when typing them. It's an absolutely fantastic experience and I highly recommend it just for the keyboard. It's incredible. And it has all the numpads too, which is a big bonus, especially in a 15-inch laptop. You don't always get it, because if you're gaming, you don't need it. But in this case, you get it, so if you need to do some work, you can also do that too. Now, trackpads are always a huge problem for Windows machines. So in this case, it's not bad. It's actually really, really good, and it's absolutely usable for general tasks. You're not going to be gaming on it, obviously, and it's actually kind of as close to a Mac touchpad that I could really imagine. It's really, really good. One thing I would say, the buttons they're really long press. Like, you don't press them in a long way, and it feels kind of awkward. And it's just not like clicky enough. I would appreciate if it was just a flat surface and you just click on the surface rather than having buttons. Like, just get rid of the buttons, extend the actual touchpad, make it bigger. Make it bigger, because I would actually really appreciate that in another version. Now, speaking of other versions, nothing has actually changed in other versions. They've removed the actual webcam here, and they've left everything else the same. Plus, obviously, changing out the graphics card inside, adding a bigger amount of hard drive. This laptop came with a 256 M.2 SSD. It also came with a 1 terabyte hybrid drive, which I have swapped out and put a 1 terabyte SSD. Now, that's not to say I had to, but it was a little bit slow, especially if you load up all your games on it. It was slow, and I have a lot of games loaded up on here because there was a lot of testing done. So I'm going to show you some results I had about the speed of the graphics card with that Intel Core i7-8750H. That is completely untouchable. You cannot overclock that. It's completely locked down. So that's unfortunate, but that GTX, you can actually edit a little bit. There's a few bits and pieces you can change, but it's not always stable and your results may vary. These are the results I got and the maximum scores I had in my benchmarks. All right. It looks cool, it has a bunch of I/O, and I love the I/O on this. So let's have a quick chat about that, and we'll talk about what's it like to game on. We've got a USB-C, which I have not used. However, there are USB-C sticks now, which are great, 2 USB 3 ports, and we've got an HDMI out, which has saved my life more than once on presentations. We've got also Thunderbolt out, we've got the power on this side, and we've got an Ethernet jack, which, I mean, look, in all, the actual Wi-Fi performance on this is fantastic. This has got probably one of the best 5G connections to a Wi-Fi router I've seen in a long time. It works really, really well. So I've never had to use that Ethernet jack. So you know what, at some point when they remove it, I probably wouldn't even notice if they still keep the same antenna performance that they tout in their advertising. And they do. I think they've succeeded in that part. And on the other side, we've got another USB, and we've got a micro SD or mini SD, the little ones, the ones that goes into the camera, that's right there, and a Kensington lock, which, does anybody use the Kensington lock? Please let me know in the comments below if you guys are using the Kensington lock. Now, there's no other actual stats I really want to talk about. You got your 1060, you got your 16 gigs of RAM, and you've got your i7. At the end of the day, those three are the three trinities. They really, really only matter. And the big thing about this is that a 144 Hz refresh monitor, that altogether creates probably one of the best gaming experiences. Now, after that, it's all about performance and how many frames you can actually hit. So, what's it like gaming on this? Well, first of all, Battlefield 5 is not the most optimized game ever. It's kind of actually really badly optimized comparably to all the other Battlefields, but it runs about 80 frames on this, and that's 80 to 100 is what I could get it to go as high as possible, and it's buttery smooth. I mean, look, anything above 60 is usually quite good, and without losing too much quality, that game was running really well on this, and I really enjoyed the shooting experience. All the MOBA games were running at 120, 144. It was an absolute blast, and actually Overwatch was probably my favorite. Overwatch, I played hours and hours on end of Overwatch during my flights in the last 3 weeks, and it was absolutely fantastic. That high refresh rate monitor makes the absolute world in difference, and that 1060 kept up really well. So was I happy? Yes, the gaming experience was great. I didn't mind holding my hand on the WSD on the side here. I did a lot of first-person gaming shooting. The mouse I had was obviously a separate mouse, and it was wireless, little USB dongle on the side. It was all good. Now, what else have I done on this? I've edited video on this, and it worked really well. Also, you might have seen one of those videos. I'll link it down below. Does it really matter? No, but I was able to do it. It is really smooth in the Windows. You boot it up, it goes straight to Windows. There's no real stress about performance. This is as smooth as it gets. However, Windows 10 Home comes with a whole bunch of crap in it that I had to remove manually, and I'm really at this point to go, okay, this is probably the least amount of bloatware I've seen on the laptop, but I would still love to do a fresh install. Now, there's a couple of things stopping me from doing that fresh install. There's a couple of ASUS specific software that I just haven't got my head around in regards to reinstalling. It's some stuff to control the computer, change some bits and pieces, change the fan curves and things like that. Now, you can control that with your mobile phone. There is an app for it as long as you're on the same Wi-Fi. Really, what's the point? In any case, apart from that and the RGB controlled keyboard here, which you can see cycling through colors, I think that's the only other software that's really required. So I can reinstall this, and I probably will reinstall it within the next 2 weeks just to see if I can get a bigger performance boost. But out of the box, Windows 10, you got to remove a couple of little things and you'll be off and running. And one of the coolest things about this that I've noticed is over time, over the last month, it hasn't actually slowed down. I haven't had moments when it just starts slowing down. And that's probably because of the M.2 drive and the SSD. It's been performing really well. Let's talk cost, and we'll talk about the newest version. Cost-wise, I got this for 1,800 Australian dollaroos. And that is an excellent price because at the time of buying this, it was on discount and it was cheaper than if I bought it in US dollars. Some reason they marked it down in Australia to be a lot lower, which is good. So at that time when I bought this, it was obviously a run out model because the 2060 and 2070 and 2080 models were coming out, the RTX ones. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna buy that one. I don't wanna spend $2,500 to $3,000, which is the new ones. And looking at that price at 1,800, I think this was the best deal. I don't think I could pay more than $2,000 for this model. The 2060, on the other hand, I think goes for 2,300 to 2,500 Australian dollars, or even 2,800 I've seen. So it really varies. This was from Amazon delivery. It was a week. It was very quick. So, am I happy with this? Yes, I am. Would I pay more? Probably not. Not for what I want to be doing. You're not going to be competing. You don't probably need all that speed, that GTX, but if you are buying a newest one, the 2060 will be absolutely fine. The 2070, if this is your maybe only gaming device, and 2080 if you just want to game and leave it at this. That 144 Hz refresh monitor is really good for gaming. Like, I can't stress that enough. But one of the biggest things that makes it even better is that it's IPS. The color reproduction on this is really nice. It's to the eye, all the darks are a little bit darker. It's not HDR, but it is quite good, and the contrast is really nice. So final thoughts, yes, this is a very worthwhile investment if you're buying it. The ASUS brand has come a long way. The design hasn't really changed. I do like the design. The small bezels up here is really good. The new ones don't have a webcam, but I haven't even used this webcam yet at all. I haven't had the need to. The buttons are fantastic. This is great. The build quality is great, and the internals are also a good choice in even the lowest models. So, do I recommend it? Yes, I absolutely do. If you are choosing a gaming laptop, this ASUS Strix lineup is probably one of the better ones. There are different ASUS lineups of laptops, but I have tried them at the shops. I like this one better. The actual, like, I don't know, the build quality of this one is a lot more premium than even their premium lineup. Guys, thank you very much for watching this classic review. I hope you got something out of it. I highly recommend this laptop. And one of the biggest things that I'm going to leave you guys with is you can play VR with it. You can plug in your Vive or your Oculus into this and play. Amazing. Vive and VR on the go. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another one. Bye!